Hi friends, this is Mr. Bowenzi, and we're just going to go over some rhythm basics today. Today, our essential question is, how do I count rhythms that include quarter notes, quarter rests, and half notes? And then our objective is, given a basic rhythm, students will be able to count and clap quarter notes, half notes, and rests in time. Okay, so I have here some basic rhythms. Okay, that include our three notes that we're going to be going over, quarter notes, half notes, and half rests. So we're going to talk about them. Okay? First thing we want to talk about the symbol is right here. We have the two fours on top of each other. Okay, and that's not 4 out of 4 as in a fraction, which reduces to 1. That is a way we write 4/4 time. Okay, it's called our time signature. Okay, and a time signature tells us two things. Okay, so the top number, so we have 4, 4. So the top number tells us the number of beats per measure. Okay, and then the bottom number tells us what kind of note gets one count. So which note gets, we'll say equals 1 count. Okay? So whenever a 4 is in the bottom, what we do is we imagine that the top number is a 1, or we take the bottom number and we put it under 1. So if we have 1, 4, another way that we say that is quarter, right? Okay? Or if we said here, so that means a quarter note will get a beat, 1 count. And if we say 1/2, for example, we would say half, right? So a half note gets 1 count. Okay? And so we can do that many different ways. So right here, we've got 4, 4. 4 is in the bottom. That means quarter note gets a beat. Okay? So that's our time signature. Okay? So now let's talk about our different kinds of notes. We have the quarter note. Okay? And the quarter note gets 1 count. Okay? And we just put a 1 underneath it. And it gets counted with a number, really. Any kind of number. Okay? So, for example, up here, we have 4 quarter notes. Okay? So, we always start, when we count, we always start with 1. Just like if you're counting people in the room, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, or M&Ms that you're going to get, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So we always start with 1. And then we're going to go, the next one is going to be 2. And the next one is going to be 3 and 4. Okay, so now we have here a bar line. I wonder what that's for. Is this going to be 1 or is it going to be 5? That's a good question. So think about that for a second. How do we know what we're going to count to? If we go back to our time signature at the beginning, we have those two numbers. We said the bottom number tells us what gets 1 count. That's the quarter note. And the top says the number of beats or counts in a measure. And so the top number is 4. So we've gotten to 4. That's where we're going to stop. Okay, so we always start over. So this is going to be 1. Now, a good rule of thumb is you get to the bar line, that tells you we're at the beginning of the measure, right? And when we count, we always start with 1 at the beginning. Okay? Now we have that squiggle there. Okay? We call that squiggle a quarter rest. I have one right here. Quarter rest. Okay? And so it's going to get 1 silent count. And so the way that we show silence when we're writing in the counts is it's going to get a number. We're going to put that number in parentheses. So what count would come here? We just had 1, so this must be, yep, that's right, 2. So we write in a 2, and we put it in parentheses. It's getting a number. Okay? So we have another quarter note. What comes after 2? 3. What comes after 3? 4. And we're going to end of the line, go to here. Uh-oh, we got a half note now. Okay? So, half note is over here. And a half note, we get 2 counts. Okay? And so, the 2 counts for that half note, the way we're going to show that is we go a nice big number and then a small number. Okay? So, in this example, it's at the beginning. It's at the beginning of the bar, so we're going to start with 1. Okay? So it gets a big number and then whatever's next. 2. 1, 2. Okay? So then we have another quarter note. What comes after 2? 3. After this quarter note, we got 4. Bar line. Right? Super important to pay attention to that. So that means we start over at 1. Oh, it's a rest. So we put it in parentheses. Okay? Right? To show that it's silent. But it still has length. Okay? It's just silent. Okay? Half note. It gets a big number and a little number. Right? It gets 2 counts. Okay? So we're going to put whatever's next. So 2. And then 3. Little 3. Okay? And then we go, whatever comes that, 4. And we're done. So, now, how do we clap and count those? So, when we're counting, when we're clapping, you always want to keep a peace. So, I just like to keep my hands pulsing like this. Right? And it's either clapping or it's not clapping. Right? And with the long notes, we hold them. So let's talk about what that looks like. So quarter notes will just be like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? That's pretty simple. Do quarter notes and quarter rests. So quarter rests are going to be super easy to do all out here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Half notes are different because you have to hold them for longer. So we're going to actually hold our claps. Okay? So you're going to go 1, hold 2. Right? So it looks like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. Now, let's try to do all this. So take a second and go over those and try to clap and count it yourself. Notice that we're going to count out loud. Okay, you need to always be thinking about what those numbers are. So I'll give you a second. All right, so now we're going to clap and count these together. Hopefully you've already practiced it. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. We just clapped it. What is the time signature? Or more importantly, yeah, what is the time signature? Hopefully you said something along the lines of, time signature is a set of numbers that tells us how many counts are in each measure and what kind of note gets one count. Okay? If you said something close to that, you're right on track. If not, watch the video again and figure out and remember what that is. Okay? All right, what kind of note is this? Hopefully you said quarter note. How many counts does it get? Hopefully you said 1. Okay? How do we write it? Hopefully you said it gets a number. Okay? All right, what's this squiggle? Hopefully you said quarter rest. And then how many counts does it get? Hopefully you said something along the lines of 1 silent count. And then how we write it? Hopefully you said something along the lines of a number in parentheses. And then we have here, let's write a half note. And it gets how many counts? 2. Okay? And we count it, and when we write it out, it gets that's right, a big number and a little number. Okay? So here's an example. Right? We have our half note, it gets a big number and a little number, and this number just shows us that that it's taking up that count, and that they're together. Okay? 2, 3. Okay? Right? And then remember, the parentheses shows us that the counts are silent. It just helps us remember. Okay? Okay. So we have some rules here for your practice when you now work on this on your own, when you're writing in counts. Okay? And so, those rules are, every measure starts with 1. Always. You always start with 1. Even if there's a rest, you always start with 1. Do you start with 1? Yes. Every measure starts with 1. Second rule, we use all the counts. Okay, so if your time signature says 4, 4, you gotta go all the way to 4. You have to. Okay? Use all the counts. Right? And right now we're gonna be doing 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s. Okay? In that order. All the counts in order. Okay? Rule 3. Long notes get grouped, kind of like exponents, if you know what those are, or powers, right? So a half note, we have a big number, a little number, and they're grouped together. So that way we know that all those counts go to that half note. And then all rests go in parentheses. Okay? So we know that they're silent. So those are the basics for counting rhythms. If you have a question, rewind the video. That's the beauty of technology, right? Rewind the video, go over it again, thinking about your question, try to find it. Maybe write down the question so you don't forget it while you're watching. It's always a great thing. And that's our little mini lesson today on rhythms. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being you.